everybody, I hope you are having a fantastic day. If you are new here, my name is Melissa and I am a second grade teacher from Michigan. So I am coming at you guys live from my classroom library today, which is seriously my favorite part of my room. And I just kind of wanted to do a little video showing you guys how I organize my library and then share some of my favorite books, especially for students who are transitioning between lower readers and chapter books, as well as just kind of talk about how I use independent reading in my room and just kind of some things that I have learned since I have started teaching about reading, because I have changed a few things. So like I said, I seriously love my library so much. I've spent so much time on it. Other people have spent a lot of time on it. I have definitely invested quite a bit of money as well. I'm not saying you have to do that to be successful at getting your kids to love reading, but for me, this is just something that brings me joy. And so I don't mind using what I spend on my classroom in this area, because honestly the most money that I do spend on my classroom is usually these books, because I just love children's books. I love instilling a passion for reading in my kids, and I love them to have endless options. I just want you to know that this is something that I really am passionate about, and so I have put a lot of just resources into it throughout the years. Also been very blessed with a lot of people in my personal life, as well as some people through Instagram or just like the general teaching community, who have donated some different books to my classroom over the years, and that is something that I am so appreciative for. So like I said, I've put a lot into this library, but there is just so much love from so many different people in this space, and it just brings me so much happiness. I know there will be some people watching who have contributed to this library, so if that is you, thank you so much. Again, I appreciate it more than you ever know. It is so great to see my kids loving reading, and I could have not done all of this completely by myself, so thank you. So here is a big overview of my library. So over on this tall shelf, I have some book buddies, and then I also have some books that are sorted by topic. So first I have books about pets, cats and dogs, jungle and rainforest, farm animals, the Arctic, the ocean. I have dinosaurs, earth and nature, and then animal characters, because I have a ton of animal books. So I have two big bins. The cube shelves, or the main part of my library, are all books that are series. So I have some picture book series and lower reader series, and then I also have a lot of chapter book series. So I'll just kind of pan over it and kind of show you guys some of the series that I have. Now, in this section of the library, I have my little book characters display, and then I have books that are based on mostly topic. So I have like silly stories mixed with poems and songs, which obviously this bin is overflowing. I really need to split those up. And then I have fairy tales and books about art and music, books about feelings, fantasy books and legends, ABCs and counting. And then these are a few more like series mostly. I mean, there's friends and family at the top, but then there's if you take a mouse to school, if you give a mouse a cookie, Berenstain Bears, and then Little Critter. And then I do have one more shelf over here with some series and topic books. So I have Franklin, Magic School Bus, Zapato Power, and then books about school. So So right now I have 2 books that are about animals, and then I have one that is jobs and communities, and then biographies. But biographies, I have so many that they definitely need their own bin. Most of them are not here right now, but I do have a ton, so I'll probably need to make a new bin at some point. This is science books. I have transportation, and then over here I have historical fiction. In my back storage room, I also have higher level chapter books and then just some other random books, like a Pokemon book I see right now. And those are just for like kids who maybe can read those books and are up to that level, which is not very many of them in 2nd grade. But usually towards the end of the year, I like to kind of mix it up a little bit and bring out some of the harder books. So I have some of these there. And then also I just have a few more of them in baskets up here. So like I said, these will probably be out, but more towards the end of the year, because a lot of them are levels like O and P. And for my students right now, that is not where they are. I'm not saying they can't be there sometimes, but I know that some of them will like fill their box with books that are just a little bit too challenging. So I just like to save them, and then that way it kind of freshens up the library later in the year. So my first year of teaching, my library looked very, very different, but I had a lot of mismatched shelves. I still clearly have mismatched shelves behind me. I've just made them work. I had a lot of different storage bins from a lot of different places. I got hired like 2 weeks before my first year of teaching. Like, yeah, I lived that story that I thought like I would die if that ever happened to me, and it did happen to me and I made it. But anyways, so I had come into this classroom and there were just piles of books like everywhere, because my room had been being used as a storage room the year before. So there was a lot of extra stuff here, or like teachers had retired or moved districts or whatever else, and they just kind of like put everything away for whoever might need it. And so I came into that and I was very overwhelmed at first, but I was so lucky because I had hundreds of books like ready to go. Now, I did spend a lot of time sorting through those books and splitting them into what I wanted, splitting them into topics and series. And my first year, I actually split quite a few of the books into levels. My first year of teaching, I had a small series library, but I had primarily a leveled library. It was a lot smaller than what you see behind me right now. That is something that I know people have a lot of opinions about, whether or not to level books. Now, my first year, I did, and I had my kids choose from their level. I wasn't super strict about it. I never wanted my kids to feel like they were limited on what they could read, but at the same time, the system I was using did kind of limit them. I know that there are phenomenal teachers who level their books, and I know there are phenomenal teachers who do not. So at my school, we are not required either way to level or not level. We do use running records, so we use Fountas and Pinnell leveling. We do, of course, still test that. However, when it comes to students having our classroom library and books in their book box, like that is flexible. There is not anything I have to do. So when I student taught, the teacher who I student taught with is absolutely amazing. I learned so much from her, and she leveled her books, so did her team, and I think a lot of people in the building did as well. So that was what I knew. And so when I was hired 2 weeks before the school year, I took what I knew to organize my library. Now, as my first year of teaching kept going on, I would have some kids who just really did not want to read because of their level. I felt like it made them feel like they didn't love reading. They weren't focused on the books, whether they liked them or not. They were focused on moving up, and that's not something that I wanted reading to be in my room. So over the summer, I sat and I thought, because I was like, you know, I still need to have these kids learn how to read and build their skill set, and I don't want them to be reading books that are way too easy or way too hard, because they're not going to learn from that. And so I really sat and thought about, how am I going to do this next year? And once I got to thinking about it and researching it a little bit more and talking to some of my friends and coworkers, I decided that I was not going to level my library. A lot of my books are still leveled. There are tons of books in my library with a little letter on the cover. The kids, some of them know what that means from teachers past who maybe have leveled their books. Some of them have no idea. I've realized that if I don't make a deal out of it, they don't really either. Like, they don't really care if there's a letter on their book. They don't care if there's a letter not on their book. They're picking things that look interesting to them and that they want to read. So like I said, I decided on this method, and I was not sure about it at first because I was legitimately worried that my kids would not improve in their reading scores enough, because data is part of my evaluation. What I figured out is that my leveled books, where kids are reading at their level, that happens in my small group times when I pull kids out. When we're doing whole group instruction, it is at a second grade level where most students are generally in that area. So I have my differentiated time, I have my core instruction time, and so I thought, why not just have this time to enjoy and love reading? Once I made that switch, I have not regretted it. I love it so much. My kids are able to pick what's interesting to them, and what I've learned is that I still teach them how to pick books. Is this book too easy? Is this book too hard? How do I know? And they really are good at making those decisions for the most part. They really, really are. And if they're not, usually what I'll do is I'll give them a reminder, because I have some kids who are very high readers and love to just pick like Elephant and Piggy and Pete the Cat. And so what I tell them is, hey, why not pick one or two of those books, and then that's it. Then we have to explore other books too. And I've found that most of the time that will solve the problem just fine. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is my library bins. How do I actually store my books? Because like I said, my first year I had a ton of mismatched stuff. I had all different bins and sizes, and if you have that, that's totally fine. Your kids are gonna like to look on the inside and just pick out books. But if you are looking for some consistency like I was, or just looking to find books that are the right size, maybe you're going into your first year soon, maybe you are just ready for a change in your library, I am very, very happy with these. Now, I do have to credit this to my friend Kim, Elementary in the Mitten, because she had bins like these her first year, and I loved the cohesiveness of it. It looked great, and so I was like, you know what? I am going to borrow that idea and use it in my room. So I credit this to her. I believe that she has these bins linked in her Amazon storefront, so you can feel free to check out hers. I also do have some of them linked in mine, so you may feel free to check out mine as well. But like I said, this was her idea first, so I definitely took it from her. So I actually have 4 different sized bins in my library, and they're all different kinds of black Sterilite bins. So the first one I want to talk about, the best place I've found to buy these is at Walmart. They're about 98 cents a piece, and they are just mini milk crates. So like the big ones that you can buy, these are just miniature ones. Now I have found that these work really, really well for chapter books. So that is what I put in here, is chapter books, or sometimes books like I do have Elephant and Piggy ones in here, the thick hardcover ones. Those are also a good size. Now you can see I turn these kind of the long way, so the longer side is facing the front, and then I have my books with their spines facing out so that the kids can flip through easily and look at the title. Now they can also take it off the shelf and then flip it this way, and then they are able to look and see the cover. The next bin I use is a little bit larger, but I think this still counts as the medium-sized Sterilite bin. This one is black and has some gray handles on it, and these are really good for most picture books. So if you can see this row right here behind me, like my Mo Willems, my Froggy books, my Olivia books are right over there. I have some Pinkalicious and Clifford and Arthur. Those are like a great size for that. These work out really well. They're super durable. I've never had any of these book bins break, which is amazing because I teach 7-year-olds. So they're super durable. You can get these on Amazon. I am not sure about anywhere else because I have just purchased them through Amazon. Then I have those same bins, but in a bigger size. I believe this is the large size is what they call it. So as you can see, it is bigger, and these are just for books where I have a lot of that topic, or some larger books like hardcover picture books go really well in these ones. So I have a hardcover right here, and they are able to fit and not be bent or bulky. So if you have larger picture books, like some that are like weird shapes or like squares or super long books, these ones are really good for that. And then the last ones I have are actually super tiny, and they are the little cleaning buckets with the handle. So these work super well. I put them at the top of my library because they don't quite take up the whole cube, but these work really, really well for readers that are like kind of leveled reader size, or even some chapter books, but like Fly Guy or Elephant and Piggy, or right here I have Yasmin, like this size. You know the size, I don't really know what to call it, but these fit perfectly in here. They are super nice, and I can fit a ton in this little bin. Like my Fly Guy one is stuffed like full, and I probably have like almost 30 of those books in there. So these are really great. I picked these up from Dollar Tree. I got them for $1 a piece, and I don't see them there all the time, but I have seen them be there, then go away, then come back, and I'm sure that you can find these other places as well. I just remembered that my nonfiction books, I put a clip in earlier. Those are in different bins as well. Those are the giant cleaning bins from Target that they get for back to school time. They're $3 a piece, and I just have them in lots of different colors. I actually have more of those in my back storage room with books too, but like I said, I just have to rotate them out sometimes because there's just too many books. Even though I never believe you can have too many, but I have too many for my classroom. So really, it's not too many books, it's just my classroom is too small, you know? So normally with my library, I like to hire a couple librarians, aka students, who really love to read and love like sorting things and are very organized, and they help me put back the books in the right spot. But this year with COVID, we're doing it a little bit differently, where all of my students return their books on a Monday, and then those books are in book quarantine until the following week, and then on Monday of the next week, I put those books back, and then my students are allowed to check out new ones. Normally, I let my students choose between 8 and 10 books, but this year, just because of everything going on and it being a little bit different this year and not having as much space to move around with or even time to do some of these things because we're spending more time cleaning and all that stuff, I am letting my kids choose 5 books. And the way I explain that to them is I say, hey, you have 5 books. That means 1 book for every day of the week. If you're reading chapter books, you're not going to need 5 because you're not going to read a chapter book in a day. And if you are reading just Elephant and Piggy or Pete the Cat, like you're probably gonna have to reread some of your books, and that's okay as long as we're not rereading and rereading and rereading and never trying anything new. So that's kind of how I have them check out books, is I let them do 5 at a time. They keep those in their book box for 1 week, and then they may choose to keep reading them or swap them out for new ones. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is some books that I have felt as a 2nd grade teacher or a lower elementary teacher really help my kids transition from picture books to chapter books. Now, don't get me wrong, I find so much value in picture books. There are a ton of picture books that are very challenging for kids to read, but I'm more talking about like my Elephant and Piggy and my Clifford and my just lower level series like that, getting those kids from that 1st grade kind of sort of starting to get into harder books into 2nd grade, where some of them are kind of afraid of chapter books. So I thought I would show you guys some of those because I've been working really hard to, first of all, find those books, and then second of all, find some of those books that have more diverse characters, because I feel like there are a lot of really good upper L chapter books with diverse main characters who deal with different situations and all that kind of stuff, but I don't feel like there has been a ton for lower L until recently. Of course, I love Juna B. Jones. I love Magic Treehouse, Nate the Great. I'm looking around, like Henry and Mudge, Cam Jansen, Judy Moody. Like, I have all those, but these are ones that I feel like not as many people know about and not as many people have learned to love because they're a little bit newer. Like I said, this is something I love doing, is finding books, and I've really been trying to make my library more inclusive and just find books that are at my kids' level that are inclusive, because when you get to the levels I, J, K, L, M, there's not a ton of chapter books, period, and there's not a ton of chapter books with those different characters. So enough with my ramble. Here is what I have to show you. The first set I have already mentioned in this video, and that is Yasmin. So Yasmin books are amazing. In the back, they have some vocabulary in Urdu and also some facts about Pakistan. So you can learn Urdu, you can look at these little facts, like I said. There's a little craft in this one, and they are just so awesome because the level is a little bit higher, but the text doesn't necessarily suggest that to kids. So if you have a kid who is hesitant to be moving up to those books, These are really great because there are picture supports on every single page, and they're just fun, they're colorful, but they're still going to have those more challenging words and have your readers work a little bit harder. Like I said, I love these. She does so many things. She's a superhero, a fashionista. This one is just Meet Yasmin, and then Yasmin the teacher. There's like a zookeeper one and a gardener. They're really, really cool. Another one I also briefly mentioned today was Fly Guy. Now, Fly Guy, the fiction stories are primarily levels F, G, H, so a little bit lower than what a lot of my kids will be reading independently in second grade. However, the nonfiction ones are much more of a challenge. They still have a ton of picture support. They're still written in the style of kind of a graphic novel, and they are so fun, but the vocabulary is really, really good, and the reading level is higher than you might think. So I love these because my kids love them. First of all, they're fun, they're colorful. Like, who doesn't like a holographic book? The next books I've really enjoyed for my kids are Owl Diaries. These are so cute. They are just like books that I think if I were a kid reading, I would love these. They are set up in the diary kind of format where they just tell stories, and some of my kids are just hooked on these. I have had boys and girls alike reach for these. They really enjoy them. This is one of my other favorites, and I feel like not very many people know about these. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are Zapato Power, and these are about a boy named Freddie Ramos who gets these super powered shoes, and he just has a really good story. Like, he lives in an apartment with his mom. His dad passed away. He was in the army, I believe, and they just are a lower income family who don't have a bunch of money for these extra luxuries, but he happens upon these really cool this really cool pair of shoes, and he just has all different kinds of adventures after that. My kids really, really enjoyed these. They're super good, and again, a great transition into the chapter books with a good amount of just visual supports and pictures, and yeah, they're really fun books. Another one I've really enjoyed are The Princess in Black. My kids love these. They are so fun. I believe they are about a level M. Lots of pictures. They're colorful, which the kids love. I always have this basket empty. I think there's 6 or maybe 7 in the series now. I have the first 6. I would love to get any more that they put out. They're so good. Another book series that my students really enjoy are Katie Woo. So Katie is just, she's so cute. I love the covers of these books. They're all such fun colors, and what I like is that they have some that are very thin, easy readers, and then some that are a little more set up like the chapter book again. So same thing, colorful, lots of support. Now, a lot of people maybe know about Katie Woo, but they actually expanded the series a little bit and did a bit of a spin-off with her friend Pedro. So it's kind of the same thing. If you can get a kid hooked on Katie Woo, you could get them hooked on Pedro. If you can get them hooked on Pedro, you could probably get them hooked on Katie Woo, or maybe if they don't like one, they can try the other. So same thing, they have a couple of smaller books and then ones that are a little bit larger chapter book size. Another book I recently found and have been trying to get my kids obsessed with this year is Sophia Martinez. These are so, so, so cute. She just seems like such a spunky and fun little girl. Again, lots of pictures, lots of color. A lot of my students this year love Mercy Watson. This is by Kate DiCamillo, one of my favorite authors. She wrote Because of Winn-Dixie, which was my favorite book as a kid growing up, and Mercy Watson, oh my goodness, these, the illustrations by Chris Van Dusen are just so funny, and they literally call her a porcine wonder. These books are amazing and they're so funny. The kids love them. Sorry, the angle changed, but it's because our custodian just came in and saw me talking to myself, and I was like, hey, and then it was just really awkward. But anyways, I'm gonna finish and hurry because she needs to get in here and clean, and I shut the door again, and she's literally the sweetest human alive. But anyways, the last one I wanted to mention was Molly Mack. My students haven't been going for these yet, but I think it's because they're a little bit hidden on the top of the library, but there's a lot of words on these pages, and you wouldn't think so by looking at it. So definitely a really good one. She's so cute. Look at that little gal. I love these. So check these out if you have never seen them before. So to answer a couple more random questions for you, I made my Read More Books letters on a Cricut. It is just black cardstock. It's not laminated or anything, and I just hung it up with poster putty, and it has been great up there for a couple of years now. It hasn't fallen down or anything, so that is how I did that. For my book buddies, I made them myself. I would put them on TPT, but because I do not own the rights to the images, I cannot do that. But what you can do is you can literally just open PowerPoint, make a black square, and then find a transparent image, or take an image and make the background transparent, and just put whichever characters you would like in there. Most of my book buddies are from Kohl's, or some of them are just like gifts from friends. And as for my labels, I did make them myself using PowerPoint as well. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed hearing about my classroom library. I loved sharing it with you. I hope that you found something of value in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you do not already follow me on Instagram, the link will be in the down bar, as well as my classroom wish list, Teachers Pay Teachers, Amazon storefront, and any other links relevant to this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon!